Heart of the mountains, where flying shadows play. Legends whisper softly in the light of day. Scales shine like diamonds, wings that touch the sky. Guardians of the planet Earth, protecting all that cry. When the storms rage above and the darkened shadows creep, they shield the outer danger from attacking when we sleep. Through their breath of fire, we will find our way back home. They are always there to call on, no matter where we roam. Hear the thunder of dragons, flying high above the earth, protectors of the ancient realms, hidden since our...
Hey, all you beautiful people out there in the world of, what do we call? It's virtual world of connectivity in today's new way of, reaching out to people. And, one of the biggest powers is that we have this ability to go around the world in so many different ways that we couldn't do this before. Back in my day, it was all about, yelling across the street. So to all the newcomers, my name's Gary, and welcome to the Heartfire Chronicles podcast. And my guest will be coming on shortly. He's just on his way home and getting himself set up. And so, you know what? Let's talk a little bit about my guest, and he'll be here very shortly. He's an author. He's a business owner. He has a book out. He's got another one coming out. His first book out right now is called Activating Flow and Releasing the Power Within by Carl Heath. And I met Carl a number of years back at a tea shop that I used to do a lot of work with. And, we connected in a way that was, I know this man. Even though that's the first time you meet somebody, you have these connections at times with kindred souls. And we sometimes question, it's like, what is this feeling? A sense of familiarity, a sense of, just something connects there. And, as energetic souls, this is what we are. We connect in a variety of different ways. And these ways that we connect in many, many ways, sometimes is outside of the logic, okay? And outside of that logic is this ability to see through our heart, the heart frequency, the heart sees. And in today's world, unfortunately, there's a lot of people don't understand that. They more connected with their mindsets, and their ideologies and egos and, rampant, I got a word for it. It's called mindfuckery. So much so that we're seeking this outworld validation. And we're trying to validate ourselves, especially in the online world, and trying to say, look at me, here's what I'm doing. But yet, what are you really bringing to the table? Are you bringing information to the table that's helpful as we rise into this, awakening? And this awakening is not about some far-fetched 5D realm. This awakening is about this essence of spirituality, this essence of heart that comes into you, this heart vibration, and reconnecting to your heart vibration, but also connecting to the great Mother Earth. And there's a lot of people out there who say, the earth is this and the earth is that. But in my world, in a shamanic practice, is that the earth is just as alive as, any being that's walking on this earth, whether it's a animal, an ape, a mammal, okay, whether it's a tree or a flower, whether it's any of these elements that are right before us. This is the essence of life. And life is there, right before us, okay? And we get in this tendency that we say, well, my life is miserable. And it's not your life that's miserable. It's your choices that have become miserable. And you're not assuming responsibility for your choices. You'd rather blame life or blame another or blame something outside of yourself. And it's not about blaming yourself. It's about assuming the choices that we make at times, don't turn out the way that we intend them to be, okay? And in this ability is to say, you know what, I made a mistake. And to learn from that mistake and step forward and say, what did I learn? Am I applying that learning of my mistake of my yesterday and putting it into practice? And that's where wisdom is. Wisdom is what you put into practice. Everything that you do, speak, think, how you interact with anything in this world space, whether it's another being having a human experience, whether it's an animal, a mammal, an ave, tree, flower, father sky, grandmother moon, full moon cycle on right now. How many are like, a little bit of, what's going on here, maybe hypersensitive, maybe, not hypersensitive, maybe you're just crawling into that little space and you don't want to go out. You feel agitated, frustrated. And these cosmic energies, Earth, the sun, the stars, things that, we think science is explaining to us, but yet it's not. Okay, science is only the perspective of humankind that's come together and trying to unravel the mysteries. And as these beings that we are, we're perfectly imperfect. Thus, science is flawed. Many things is flawed because it's constant in evolution or constant in re-verification. And then we can come to the aspect that, is it truth that's being put forward to us? Is it truth that's on your television? Is it truth in the sciences? Is it truth in your schooling? Is it truth in the politics and the religions? Or is it separations, containers, and, held back from the freedom that you have that comes from this heart space and not just your mind space? Your mind space is this ability to be that critical thinker based upon the programs and things that you've learned from your yesterdays. But your yesterdays are not what's holding you back. You've decided to hold on to those yesterdays and not be in this now space. You are not who you were a second ago. Okay, you can't be. You've changed. You've changed your position. Your breath has changed. Your cells have changed. Your hair follicles have changed. One little strand of hair that moves out of space, and guess what? You're not who you were that second ago. And who you're going to be a second coming forward is still not the person that you are right now. And when you step into this now space, you step into the ability to have a broader vision, a more open vision, a more stronger ability to say, I'm fully seeing what's before me rather than seeing the program or, gluing myself to the television and watching the news. Okay, news, north, east, west, south. You start digging into how news is manipulated to keep you away from that now space, because the only thing you're fixated on is, that television screen. Like we fixate on devices at times, okay? And these devices that we fixate on time narrow our visions down. This tiny little telephone, we're hitting, we're walking down the street and we're doing this. We're not even looking where we're going. And at times, how many people trip off the end of that curb and there's a car coming at you and you get pissed off at the car because you think the car should stop. Well, hold on a second. That car is 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pounds, and you take this audacity to say, you're like, excuse me. It's like, what, didn't you see me? Well, of course he saw you. He just didn't have the ability to stop in that very moment as you decided to take that blindness, okay, because you're focused on this. And my guest has just arrived, so let's welcome Mr. Carl Heath into this and, introduce you to he'll explain who he is. And so we're just going to get this all set up. And Carl.
Oh, there we are.
Carl,
oh, there we are.
Hey, brother. How you doing?
Yeah, good. How's the sound?
Sorry?
How's the sound? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It sounds like reverberation.
You might have reverb going on. Have you got reverberation on your side by any chance?
Yeah.
Could say turn that reverb off. Do you have a way to turn that off? Are you on a box?
I'm on my laptop.
You're on your laptop. So, well, you know what? We'll make do with it. I can hear you, and I'm sure the audience can hear you as well.
I'll try my headphones.
Okay, plug in your headphones then. Mr. Carl Heath is coming in, and we're going to get this on the road and explain, well, I'm not going to explain, he's going to explain. He'll tell you all about himself and, everything else and why he's doing what he's doing in today's world.
Let's get the show on the
Is that better? Is that better?
Ah, there we go. Yeah, that is. That's a lot clearer. The mic on the laptops are, they're useless. Okay, to be honest with you. Okay,
Phone
and
then.
that's something.
Phone then.
That's sometime the next time we talk. Okay, we get together. I'll give you some hints about, so you can get this, better, not so much as better, but better clarity. Okay, and you'll be able to.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of different ways. Anyways, introduce yourself, Mr. Heath. You're on a global screen across a lot of different applications here. So, why are you doing what you're doing in today's world?
Well, born in 1968.
Single mom.
Dad,
Single mom.
left before
Dad
I was
left
born.
before I was
The age
born.
of 5.
The age of 5.
Staying in a mental
hospital.
She was
and
too ill to take care of me. So I was taken in for the next 8-9 years
in my life.
And I'd gone through a lot of stress. Trauma, but the big thing was emotional confusion. Process what I was going through. Streets, got on the drugs, and then I had a breakdown. And playing sport, and it stopped moving my body. When I stopped moving my body, it's caught up with me. And then through a mental breakdown because the internal conflict belief system. I call it growing up in the children's home, the church. I had a kind of belief, but what really big heart broke through with big heart, and I could see the truth. And in the process, running, even it was like rescuing the inner child that had been indoctrinated.
Okay, Carl, can you hold just a second? There's an echo that keeps cutting in and out.
I know.
Okay, so something on your connection is dropping in and out.
Don't know what that is. Let's have a look. Shall we try it on the phone? Positive. Okay, I will keep talking with the echo.
Yeah, like we can hear you, but I'm just like we're getting back to it. We just want to increase the the quality of coming that in, and it's sometimes that's what the technology is like. What, it's nothing's perfect, right? We want it to be perfect. Okay, and everybody wants it to be in that perfect world. That's why a lot of people go into the online world because they think it's perfect. But
shall I come up? Let me do that.
Now, it could be your laptop. That's another thing. Okay.
I think it is. Yeah. With this one.
I'll join
the stream on.
Yeah, if you want to drop out your telephone and bring your telephone on, because that's another way of doing it. Your telephone was probably got a better connectivity versus your laptop. And you're gonna have you'll have a better screen resolution as well coming from your telephone.
Yeah, let's have a look. I'm gonna come out with this one.
Yeah, just
come out with this one.
Yeah, just disconnect from this one, and then come back in with your telephone, and see if that works. We'll get it working. Technology, people. It's like, what do you want to do? We want that perfect world, and sometimes we think that the world in technology is perfect, but it's far from being perfect. Yeah, so we find ways to make it work. So just be patient, and we'll get back to this where we were. Yeah. See, now now we can see you. Even
Can you hear
that's
me?
better.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, that's perfect, bro. Okay.
Okay.
Much better. Much better. See, that's a that that
I
that.
don't know where the echoes. It's pretty bizarre.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, and it might be the laptop. Resources on the laptop. There could be a lot of things.
Doing the same on your phone.
Yeah, stay on your phone. See, like I'll have people check.
Okay. So,
Kevin, is he sounding coming better?
Hello? It's still an echo. This is weird.
Yeah,
This is weird.
Yeah, let's just bear with this.
Okay.
We'll get this working.
Okay.
We're just checking. Still got everything.
Yeah.
It's
the first time I've done this one.
Well, we'll get it working. So it says it's like almost like everything's coming twice through.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
the application on the laptop's completely shut down?
Yeah.
Yeah, just make sure the browser's shut off. It might take a little bit to buffer it through.
Okay. I don't know what's going on. So.
You just keep talking for a little bit. I'll verify with some of the people on the other connections.
Yeah. So let me share.
Yeah, let's
experience of breaking down and breaking through. I could see through the matrix, which I call the left brain power structure. The mental constructs of control and fear, and over the next 35 years, I come to just play semi-professional soccer. Got control of my life, and I had a second breakdown when I got into drugs. The drug culture. So I became a sportsman. But in the late 80s, it was ecstasy, it was cocaine, amphetamine. It was dance culture, and I got wrapped up in it all. Weekends of staying up, and more work to do. So I had my second breakthrough. I got back into my sport, and yeah. Just it went through the process of taking the journey back from the head back to the heart, and then my biggest shift was boxing amateur and professional, and then retiring from working with young people, retiring from boxing to work at a school in alternative learning. Are you still getting the echo at your end?
It seems to be, we're just waiting for it to buffer through. I mean, for me, it sounds okay.
Yeah. What's the chat saying?
So I'm getting one from the YouTube that's saying that it seems to be worse now. It might be something to do, it could be the headset. That's one thing. Let me check with somebody else.
All right.
Let me check for you. Yeah, there's a delay. You've got a delay, Gary. And is there anything I can do at my end?
Yeah, try it now. Somebody was saying it sounded better without your headphones.
Okay. But I speaking and yeah.
So what you might have to do is mute me back and forth while we kind of figure out what the technical side of it is. So you just go into your story.
Yeah.
Okay?
So even with this, you'll hear it twice. So, working in schools with kids, I started to recognize that children were, you know, youth that I was working with were switched off. Can you hear me now, Gary? Yeah, that's better. Seems to have gone. So
You just tell your story.
yeah. So working with youth, I started to see that a lot of these young people were switched off, and I started to study brain gym. And studying brain gym, I started to see how the right brain, which absorbs sensory information, when it experiences sensory overload, it switches off, which puts us in a left brain, situation. And a lot of kids are kind of dialing out of education, getting these labels ADD and OCD, and schools are like big pharma playgrounds. So I started to work with these kids, and I started to get them in the gym. And I knew how important movement was. So I'd coached in America, Australia, coached soccer. So I was well traveled after my second breakthrough. And then boxing was the great shift. So I developed a movement program called Boxwaz, where I would teach kids how to cross over the left and right hemisphere, how to switch stance, how to activate left, right brain, all brain function. A bit like politics, there's a left and a right. You got to be down the center. That's the truth. So and when you're moving the body, and you come to realize how your internal dynamics work, it's really all about getting back to the heart. And emotional awareness comes from being heart coherent. Three brains: the head, the heart, and the gut instinct. And something I share human technology is that a lot of us have a belief system rather than, a deeper sense of knowing. And when you get a deeper sense of knowing from the heart, you really start to download, ground, and integrate the truth. So I spent years doing that, and I started to become successful with the Boxwise program, working within mainstream schools, working with athletes, professional athletes. And I traveled. I traveled for some time, and then I came to Canada in 2012 to be with my son, who was born, Canadian son, born in 2013, who my first book is dedicated to, Activating Flow. So I'd realized over these years that I was in this flow responsive state of, synchronicity, that when you are in that moment, when you are like a child, the inner child, when you're in the moment, because if you're not in the flow, you're in the way. And this is the world of overthinking. And, for me, my son would take me on a deeper healing of 0 to 6 when I was in that confused state with my mum and the mental health issues. So I had all of this great experience. I was really working in alternative learning, sharing my skills, my wisdom. But then coming to Canada, I would go deeper, and over a period of time, I would start to develop my work next level, which would be the study of human biology and human technology being one, and how our human biology has been hijacked over time. And the understanding of the internal dynamics of biology and behavior, and how many of us are in a reactive state. And we need to be responsive. So reaction response was something I started to teach in schools here, presentations, the ability to respond and to really, manage emotion, but understand that, we don't process in our heads, we process from the heart when it comes to dealing with deep feelings. And in the process of being over here, I developed Energy Wise around 2018. And Energy Wise, the University of Life, the Energy Wise University of Life is really all about energy, frequency, and vibration. So over many years of traveling from the early 2000s, I was sourcing different technologies with Tesla, getting EMF protection, actually from Canada, and realizing that, we're in this, 3D, 4D, 5th generation technology, low energy frequencies and radiation, and we're not protecting ourselves from it. So I started to really get into the human technology of things, and how the power of Tesla technology, and energy, frequency, and vibration. And my system is art. So A for awareness, stress wise. When we recognize reaction from response, we understand stress builds up in the mind body, and that once we recognize reactive patterns of behavior, we can start to detach them. Then we can develop the ability to respond. But in reality, we need a release, which is the R. And a release for me, what I learned through boxing, is just harnessing that fire, growing beyond the fight that I did when I retired from boxing, and just feeling the release, developing a foundation. I've done that for 28 years. So movement to me is really the key, how we move. And physically, having a release and control, release, and channeling emotional stress and physical energy. But it's also how we move in our daily lives emotionally, how we radiate, or some of us project what we're feeling, and to be really in that heart space. Many of us radiate, we're in tune, we're switched on and tuned in to that universal flow of potential. And that's the power of now, being in the moment, the flow state. And in the process of teaching box-wise, I came across EFT, emotional freedom technique. And what I did was, with EFT, is I kind of it was originated with the Vietnam veterans. So intrusive thoughts, so that in our energy system and flow, thoughts and feelings transmit through our chakras and meridians, and that when we get blocked, we get disruptions in the flow. And disruptions in the flow is when emotion gets blocked. So I was teaching people on a surface level how to pop and unblock, tap and zap, and just really kind of release. So tap, release, and boost is my T for tools. So I was teaching a lot of athletes the tools as well. So awareness, stress wise, release, box wise, and then the T for tools was tap wise, how to tap into your nervous system and release blocked energy. And use affirmations. So I developed this system over years, did presentations, and then it came to my son becoming 6 years of age, and it was really interesting. I had a meeting with a friend of mine who was in marketing, and I remember I had like a 10-year plan. I'm over here. I'm in the immigration process. I'm going through a lot of stuff, and adversity brings opportunity to grow. And I'm kind of doing a presentation, and a friend of mine said, "Carl, do your book." So I was like, "Book?" Oh, it was like a sign. And within 2 weeks, my book came in, and it was where my son Lucian was 6. That's when I went into the children's home. So a lot of healing had been done. And 18 was when I had my awakening, and 18 chapters came in. So within 2 weeks, the whole frame of the book came in. And then it was, kind of, 4 years of I've always carried a bag with my laptop, and a bag with stuff. I have water filters. I have my technology that I use with clients, and every day for years I would write things down. I just believe in writing things down, and even voice recording. So when I wrote this first book, Activating Flow, and it came in, it never left me alone. And it would get me up in the early hours of the morning, and I'd be like working, and then I'd go to bed, and I'm like, right, leave me alone. It's gotta sleep. But the power of just knowing you're tired, but you got this energy moving through you that needs to be translated and put onto a keyboard, or even written down, which I did for years. It all transferred into me creating my book, and really enjoying sharing perspective, and really, activating flow, releasing the power within. I'm really proud of that book because it was a real test of staying in the flow, to share the experience of flow, and how people see, like you say, God the creator. So to me, I had the Jesus experience as part of my breakdown at 17 because I'd gone to the church, but it was really, I saw the truth. I saw the truth of the matrix, the drugs, the alcohol, but it didn't stop me getting involved in that process. I just had to go through a lot and come through. I had to feel it through so I could share the experience. And that's kind of what I did. So I've been in Canada now for 10 years. My son's 12. And I'm currently, for the last 4 years, when everything started 4.5 years ago, my second book started coming in as I was finishing my first, which I published, self-published in 2022. And I gave you a book at the cafe. That's how we reconnected, Gary. Yeah. And you know, the second book, The Great Awakening, Breaking Through the Matrix of the Mind, is exactly what I did. I broke through the matrix of the mind, the 5 sensory system that we're all catapulted into. You know, as children, we go from the playground and we're put into the mind field of thinking. And that system was taken over 1913, 1920 by the Rockefellers, and education, basic forms of control, government training facilities. So the study and research I've done into my second book is really that humanity is now breaking through the matrix of the mind. So collective consciousness is coming back to the heart. It's just uncomfortable for a lot of people, but the psychological process is that it's a real test of patience as more and more people wake up. So I'm really happy to share my perspective with this second book in what I know, in a history of who's been controlling, how mind programming, social conditioning over the last century, you know, from the Tavistock Institute to, you know, like I say, schools, basic forms of control. So then looking at the learned helplessness programs, which looked real familiar, learned helplessness, which is dependency on the state. And that was done with animals and bells and whistles and all that. And it's really how we learn to become hopeless, and we learn to take, and we take from ourselves. So like I say, you know, giving and receiving is a two-way flow. You got to put something into life to really receive back. But a lot of us, especially with the welfare system, we get caught up like on the streets. We go to welfare, we learn to take, and we don't have purpose. So for me, I've always lived in that purpose. When I had my awakenings, there was a purpose. There was something moving in me deep, and the synchronicities and trust in the universe has always been my gift, and patience, and taking the long road, which I've really been on for a lot of years. It's really interesting to kind of check yourself and just be really present and allow. So the second book is, you know, you think you finished it, and then something else comes in and just really starts to take it deeper, but really shape it and mold it in a whole new way. So I'm really excited about this second book because I think that a lot of people are connecting the dots. And once you see Waldo, you can't unsee him. And like I say, the cat's out the bag, toothpaste is out the tube, and you can't put a £10 bag in a £5 bag. So it's a process, it's playing out. But I got a really good angle on it because I don't watch television. I get my intel through good sources. Just you trust what you're in, and I think I've really just really been on a real deep dive with getting into the research and just being on certain channels and intel every day, watching, observing, and feeling and sensing and downloading. So it's the download, the ground. So you ground in, and then you're integrating.
So you touched
And that's
base
what we
on
do. So feeling it through. And I really share that we have the massive potential and power to become part of the great change. with all the technologies.
We've got a couple of comments coming in, Carl, here. And for an example, you touched base on something, school, okay?
Yeah.
And how schooling's been going on, and very few
it's
people.
left brain.
Well, it's even more than that. You take the word school, you spell it backwards, you Google that term, and it's the abuse of the child's mind. Yeah, that's what that word means. And we just had a comment coming in.
Language.
Oh yeah, we just had a comment coming in from Don Faze McDougal, and he says my child is never going to a public school ever again.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And we see this. Okay, like I've been an anti-conformist all my life. Believe me. It's like there was. Like I would argue with the teachers. I would argue with the preachers. I would argue with my mother. Okay. It's like, you're going to tell me to do this. I'm going to go, hold on a second. Why? First off, why? What says that there isn't another way? I questioned a nun, in Roman Catholic school. And I always tell this story. It's just like, I saw something about Darwin's theory. I was 9 years old. And I asked the nun, I says, what do you think about Darwin's theory? You want to see a nun turn into a demon? That was a demon. She came at me with a fire, okay, the yardstick, the principal's strap. The following day, being brought back into that school in front of the principal, and the principal turns around and says, "Your son can't be part of this, our schooling system because he's a bad influence on all the other students." And I went to I said it right away. My mom jabbed me. I said, "Fuck yeah." my mom says, "Shh." Okay, and I just, I was like, I was free. I was free from that matrix, right? And
that's it. So the matrix is two ways to see it. And it's the left brain power structure. The skull, I call it education, puts in a biology belief. The internal conflict comes from not being told the truth. Then we get told we've got mental health problems. Or we've got all these designer labels, medicate. When a lot of us are just looking out the window in that dream state of creativity and not wanting to be sat down. And just taught to regurgitate. Exams. I left school. No exams. I left school. I went straight to the street. And I become an entrepreneur. I started wheeling, dealing, survival. I share in my book, Survival of the Fittest. Lost on the street, survival of the fittest. So I was good. But I think when you get back to the heart, and you know that you've got a certain potential. That's the heart speaking to you. The heart will guide you. And your heart gets, in the school system, your heart gets taken, you get disconnected from the heart. And that's why I share in the second book, when you look at consumerism and you look at big tech takeover and you look at the Nanti, you look at all, so the other side of the matrix, Gary, is it's a left brain power structure, the mental constructs of control and fear, education, the institutions, the politics, the mantrix, the global media, what we're taught to, what we're influenced to believe, and then it's the actual five sensory, reactive mind programming and social conditioning. Like, it's okay to be dysfunctional. We get taught to be dysfunctional, as well as influenced to leave school, drink alcohol, do drugs, get into relationships. We've become so separated from the heart that we really get stuck in this reactivity cycle. It's a negative reactivity cycle, and everything that's laid out from the healthcare system to medicators for us to get in trouble with the police, there's prisons, it's just all covered. You've got gambling, you've got the drugs, you've got the alcohol. It's just a cycle. And in the end, it'll get you one way or the other. You'll either become medicated or you'll become mentally ill. You'll be addiction. You'll go to prison. A lot of people go to prison, get institutionalized, or you'll just live in addiction, and you will just totally be separate from your heart and stuck in all of that biology. Freeze, flight, fight, or fawn, people pleasing. You go through those factors. The old caveman, there is no woolly mammoth. Freeze, you shut down. Flight, you run away from your problems. You don't have the ability to process emotional confusion. Fight, you get resistant. That's where the system really gets you. If you start acting out, if you become emotionally withdrawn, you can, you're easier to handle. You start emotionally acting out, you become reactive, you fall into the traps of the system. And then fun is where you hide behind emotion and you really don't have the power to stand in your truth. And you become this, you start to wear this, this persona. Persona means the mask. You're not real. But the bright is really the heart. The bright is when you actually know that, everything that's going on around you is a test, is a challenge, but to stay in your heart and to be the witness and stay in response. And if you do react, you catch it early, and you know how to move your body and you know how to regulate, your internal dynamics of your human biology and human technology being one, that you start to clear your hard drive of old files, chuck out the trash, that's movement, delete, and you start to really download the new and clear the old. And a lot of us are really in the struggle of we're unable to reprogram because we've been so far down that road. I had the breakthrough and knew the truth of it and stayed in it for a lot of years and was never into watching the news, the television. I was getting high on my own supply, which is really, as you know, Gary, is your natural neurochemicals, your endorphins, your serotonin, your dopamine. And the love you give yourself is the oxytocin that you give to others. You got to fill your cup. You got to do that self-love to be able to give it to others. So, in the experience of the Matrix, a lot of us get really stuck from a young age. And then those patterns that we have, we have these patterns passing on the way we feel. We have these patterns seeking comfort to the way we don't process energy, emotion. We just carry it around with us like baggage. And a lot of us are unaware how to deal with it. So that's what a lot of my work is. I've got an online program as well. I'm just going to grab my charger. It's all happening tonight, Gary, because my battery's going a bit low, but I'm enjoying the conversation.
So, one of the things that Carl's talking on is that, and many of you who follow me on, on TikTok and the Heartfire Chronicles, is this aspect that we're holding on to, that baggage, the yesterdays, and the fears of our tomorrows. I mean, it's become so heavy. We're caught in that program of this mindset that is, as I use that term, this mind fuckery, analyze, rationalize, and you paralyze, and you take that word analyze, and ANAL, where's our heads at times? It's so stuffed up here in the programs and the holds and the yesterdays that we're not in this now space. We're not in this essence of self-love. And, Carl's touching on something that's, very, very, very deep in that way is that self-love, loving yourself, is really stepping in the ability to see with an open eyesight and see with an open mind, rather than just with the mind and the programs and the ego and, everything that you've been taught. What have you filled your cup up with, for an example? Have you filled your cup up with your schooling and your politics and your religions, and you've got all of this ideology inside of that cup, but it's not you. Okay, you haven't chosen. You've taken what people are saying to say, here's my cup, put this into my cup, and fill this up, and it becomes so heavy that you are blinded. You're blinded. You're not seeing with your heart. You're not feeling with your heart. You're not welcoming yourself. You're not loving yourself. And one of the principles of love is that it begins with you first. You cannot walk out there and say, I love another person without any love of yourself. You have no love of yourself, and you say to somebody, you love that other one, you're lying. You're just seeking, dependency or codependency. You're wanting that person to love you because you can't love yourself. And it begins with you.
I agree, Gary. And what I think you know, is it's the wounded child. We grow up with a wounded child, and this is where we become the sensitivity of the left brain is really being stuck in patterns of behavior that we've been taught as kids through freeze, flight, fight, and fawn, and hiding behind emotion and the inability to process. And you know, as we grow up, we don't have that ability to give from the heart. So we project patterns, and it's the heart wall. It's the heart wall. We get stuck behind the heart wall. And unless we can find time to get out of the matrix and do some healing, which I did a lot of seminars, and really, I became a healaholic. I enjoyed healing. I enjoyed going away for the weekend and doing a shamanic sweat lodge in Germany. And because I set up a successful, you know, successful system in working with youth, in working with youth offending, well, it was really preventing reoffending with youth, because I knew what how the system was, and that was a success with my work. But I was allowed to travel, and when you get, you know, like coming to Canada and doing the deeper work, it's the wounded child, and a lot of us don't understand that, you know, the victim mentality and the wounded child is what can take over our lives. And if we don't go back to the inner child work, you know, we don't get back to the moment and the power of when you watch a child, they're in the moment. And when you watch a child in the imagination and you know, you look at like going from the playground into the minefield, the system takes our inner sense, our ability to sense from within, and our imagination and vision is taken over. So our inner sense, imagination and vision is taken over by this false reality that's been created, this matrix, which is five sensory. And when you switch on and tune in and really kind of become the observer, you know, that's where you start to understand there's great work to do. There's great character to build, but a lot of us don't have time because we're really stuck in a system that is designed to wear you down, beat you up. And, you know, if it's not rushing us around with speed cameras on every corner, it's the bills need paying, all of these aspects. And for me, I'm so blessed to be in the position to create what I've created. And I always, you know, attitude of gratitude every day is a blessing to be present, to stay in the moment. But you got to do that in a work. And when you can realize and look at your story, it's just a story. It's a program. You're running a program on your internal hard drive, human technology. You can clear it, but everything takes time. And for some of us, if we're drinking, I've not had a drink for over 20 years. I'm an expander. You know what I'm saying, Gary. I'm. You know, there's drugs, and then there's the power essence. And big pharma is mainly where the drugs are. And a lot of us, not saying that some are not, you know, needed, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, of how we grow up and we become a lifetime customer because we just get habitually into comforting and taking certain drugs. And I saw that with kids on Ritalin. I would get them in the gym and get them off Ritalin. And you see, you get eye on your own supply. But once you get into these patterns of seeking comfort, once you're told you're something wrong with you, because the school system, you know, mainstream school system will tell you there's something wrong with you. Now, I've worked with kids for years, so when parents would bring the kids to me, the kid was very in tune, but didn't understand the power, didn't understand what they had. Very receptive, very tuned in. And now with me, I'd say, whoa, very bright kid, very switched on, because I'd get him moving. I'd switch him on and tune him in. And then I'd go, oh, I'm feeling an experience. They'd work with me, and it would build a foundation for life and grow from that. And, you know, a lot of children, because they're different and get caught up in certain stuff, they think there's something wrong with them. And I always say, and I've done a lot of videos as well. If you go on energywise.ca, I've got Carl's Cup of Wisdom. There's 200 videos, and one of them is the confidence to be different. People saying to me, Carl, you're not normal. I said, absolutely not normal. Normal is numb. I ain't normal. I'm different. And it feels good to be different. And to be confident to be different when people kind of go, what's he doing? Where's he going? And to stay in that and stay connected in that, to that flow, to that universal flow, that nothing's going to shake you. And you're never alone when you're with the source. You're never alone. You're always guided because you're in your heart. You're listening. You're getting the feedback. You're not stuck in your head, welling around. We've got an epidemic of overthinking. You're in your heart and you know how to get back there. You know how to do the work. If something gets you in your head, I say that to I would say that to my son, Gary. I'd say, if my son had a little bit of friction or what have you, I'd say to him, are you in your head now or you're in your heart? And he'd push my hand. I go, okay, you're in your head. They're just thoughts. Let me know when you're back in your heart. They're just thoughts, son. And by the way, you've got three brains. Your head, your heart, and your gut instinct. So you got to use your heart, son. So let me know when you're back in your heart. And then he hold my hand. I go, Daddy, I'm back in my heart. I go, good. They're just thoughts. You're not your thoughts. It's just the process.
We got a question coming from
Okay.
Let's see, from Lorraine, and this is a question to you, Carl. How do we start reprogramming our baggage?
Well, one, recognizing that we've all got a bit of baggage. It's okay. It's just when you look at the emotion to baggage, so it's like EFT. I learned that there's ways to tap into your system to release, even though I feel angry about my upbringing, my dad leaving me before I was born. What's the aspects around that? I would do tapping and I would release it. And I would actually be free of that emotion. And I would heal from that. So it's the ability to really go healing. It's like clearing old files on your internal hard drive. Healing is good. It's a time and a place to go through the process. So baggage that we carry is really, it's like gold, it's treasure. You got to do the deep dive to bring the treasure to the surface. You leave the treasure.
Got another one coming for you. They're asking you questions here, Carl. How important is journaling in one's life?
Well, I think for me, I would say journaling for me has really been, going through my life experience and laying the journey and the story out, but also the creative side of processing. So, going through the process is really, it feels good to write things down. If you're journaling, it feels good to write things down. But what's the process in that? What's the energy, emotion? What's the emotion? And how do you let go? Or how do you create new perspective in that process? What is it teaching you? Are you just writing stuff down just to get it off your chest? Are you actually feeling it through? Are you getting the ha-ha moments? Are you getting emotional about it? Are you laying it all out? Are you getting emotional? Are you using your imagination? Are you evoking sensation that's going to move through you? And journaling or writing down stuff that you need to share, even recording, voice recording, and putting it down is good because you're feeling with your hands. That's where a lot of us healers is with the hands. So I've learned to use the hands to move energy and harness fire, but just to feel and sense through emotion. Writing is really good. And we've lost that because of keyboards and because of phones. And I think, I can show you a mass of paperwork where I go to Staples and I print stuff and then I'll read it and I write on it. And I think you got to feel.
Can we say that the old phrase is that the pen is mightier than the sword? And we start thinking about that. We want to. Sometimes we're so emotional. We're very fire in our words. We're very fire in our thoughts. We're to the point that transforms that body into that fiery body movement. versus I get into that flow and I write out that emotion and I can see it
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
can recognize it. And now I can see where I'm being triggered because I'm journaling my
yeah,
experience, my
yeah.
emotions. I'm journaling my thoughts. It's just, like some will say, that music speaks for me. Okay, you get this blockage here, and it's this
Yeah, yeah.
chokehold, and it's like, you're trying to get this out, it just won't come out. So you internalize it, and as you internalize it, it turns into this self-sabotage. It turns into, self-harm. It turns into, what, I want to opt out, and all of these, these perspectives that
And
come
that's
in.
the
And that's the
flight. That's the
flight. That's
flight,
the flight,
Gary.
Gary.
That's where you sleep on it, you sit with it, but most important, you deal with it, you process it. So what's the process? The process is the key, and when you feel a process, it feels really good. It's like if you and I talk about the ABCs: accept, breathe, conquer, which is managing stress in the moment, where you can actually stay in your heart space and not dump cortisol and adrenaline into your endocrine system, and then feel overcharged, where you actually test yourself and go, okay, there's no woolly mammoth. What is it? If it's road rage, what it is, accept. You can't change time. Breathe. Take some deep breaths. C, conquer it. Or the C can be compassion. Have some compassion. See the inner child within somebody, but see a person's got a story. Recognize reaction from response is the key. For me, it's not rocket science. Recognize reaction. So if you're not dealing with it and there's a residual, it's going to play a role. When you have dealt with it, there's no better feeling than having a good barney with someone where you're having a good heated conversation and it goes. I mean, it might be a bit of mudslinging, but no rocks. But there's nothing better than getting someone off your chest and then going, okay, right, and getting it out. It's better out than in. But a lot of us are
In the
stress
essence of
collectors.
that there's respect there. The moment respect is crossed over, now it's becoming more badgering, more pointing, more belittling, and this is where the boundary comes in. It's like have that discussion, that's bilateral, and you're giving each other the moment to speak and be heard versus trying to overpower and trying to manipulate or trying to take that narcissistic approach and dump your shit on somebody else. It's like
Ownership.
It's your fault. That's a ping pong game. The ping pong match is like, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. You did this. You did that. You did this. You did that. Hold on a second.
The blame train.
Yeah, the blame train. Like, where are you right now in that space? Where are you with your emotion? Where are you with your frustration? Okay, rather than swallowing it and then waiting to the moment where it gets triggered again, and now you come out like a freaking machine gun, okay, and you're belittling the other person, and what have you achieved? You haven't achieved anything, okay? You've just created more harm, more hurt.
And I think, Gary, I share a lot of that in my videos. Cups of Wisdom is recognizing reaction from response, but understanding that, when we have a conversation, there's a certain tone and there's a certain way. Sometimes I call it calling out the ego in my book. I call out egos, people who try and put it on me or do things that lack value. And I have a way of sharing what I think and feel compassionately and expressing, and some people don't like that. But I call I'm a coach as well. So I've always been a coach in soccer. I'm a boxer. So I've always been able to go in the gym and have the crack. You imagine getting in a ring and looking somebody in the eyes, you're going to fight. And then you're going to have this shared expression in the ring of trying to knock each other's head, trying to stop each other or beat each other on points. There's a communication. But at the end, there's sportsmanship and there's a respect that you earn. And for me, over the years, I earned that respect in the circles. But I'm very much about, if the victim mentality and the oversensitivity in the world, people need to shake that off, but people need to recognize it. And I think people need to really take ownership. This is mine. I'll work on it. That over there is not mine. That's your PhD in BS management. That's where you don't invest your thoughts and feelings into other stuff. It's not yours. It's not my business.
PhD in BS management.
Absolutely.
You know what we call that. We sometimes call that an HIA syndrome, and this comes from an acronym of a beautiful woman in my life. It's HIA means head in ass syndrome. You got your head so buried up your rear end that that's all you're spewing out. You're spewing out the garbage. You're texting out the garbage. You're thinking the garbage. In other words, you're throwing your shit on somebody else. Okay, and you're trying to make them
offloading. Yeah. But the PhD, Gary, is really catching early somebody's bullshit and not entertaining it. And saying, okay, you know what I mean? Because I got enough going on in my own life. I don't need to get wrapped up in and entangled up in your stuff. I can see it's a reaction. I can recognize it. I can observe it. Because I have a list of so many reactions that I lay out when I do questionnaires with my online program, which I've just brought out, and I've been doing it for since '97. All the different reactions of how we pass on the way we feel. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Seeking drugs, just the whole concept of becoming emotionally withdrawn, self-sabotage, and emotionally acting out, struggling to keep the lid on our emotions. So once you actually have a good framework to recognize somebody's BS, you can not get triggered by it or reactive. But sometimes you might need to confront something if it's something that has been shared through a relationship situation. It's always good to clear out, but do it with love and compassion.
We got another question coming in.
Yeah.
How do I escape my own thoughts and my demons?
Well, you don't really escape. You kick them out of Dodge. You move them out. You clear them out. That's chucking out the trash. That's moving your body, recycling your energy, and clearing through. Getting in the right proactive environments to do that. A gym is a really good environment because you're getting the endorphins, you're getting the serotonin. It's natural. And, when you live in a certain state, especially with fear and love, with fear, you're vulnerable because it's low frequencies, and you're vulnerable to those demonic or psychic attacks because your energy is lower, because you're not raising your vibration naturally. When you raise your vibration naturally, you kind of move out of Dodge, and you start to see, as the observer, you can see what you're in. And when you see what you're in, you're not stuck in your head. It's when you're stuck in your head in it all.
So can we say that's like Dodge? That's like that, the OK Corral. And there's the there's the ego, there's the demons, there's everything that we're fighting with. We're and it's time to say, okay, I'm either gonna shoot this out or I'm gonna be shot out by it. So in other words, it's like, what? I acknowledge those demons. I acknowledge that, I'm spinning around in here. Like, hold on a minute. I got to do something with this energy. What am I going to do with it? I can be very destructive, or I can be constructive. And, like you're saying, go to the gym. That's one way of doing it. Go run around the block. Maybe that's another way of doing it. Go take a nice shower, get into some cold water. I won't do that. Okay. But I've learned that, when I get into those states, when I get into that, that mind, sort of that mind fuckery state, is like, I got to sit with this. Okay. And I got to sit with this in that standstill and say, like, okay, where's that trigger? Where is this trigger coming from? Is this something that's like in this moment, or is this something that I'm still holding on to my yesterday? My yesterday is like, I haven't dealt with it. I haven't let go of it. And now
is it mine?
Yeah. Is it mine?
Is it yours?
There we go. Okay.
Where did it come from? A lot of thoughts from around us, thought fields. We pick up thoughts. Well, like, you put the net out and you bring a lot of stuff in that's not yours. And that's why you have to have that clearing process of keeping your vibration naturally high, because you're moving your body regular, because of your food, your meditation, your mindfulness. And just a deep state of, I look at what I write about in the book is surface dwelling. When you're a surface dweller, You spend a lot of time in your head on the top floor. Now, you can be a deep dipper, which means you're in your heart, but you go back to your head, to the surface, because you're mainstream, you're watching, you have a belief, but then you do the deep dive. And the deep dive is really the fun, like I say, of going, these are just feeling. How do I feel? God, this feeling is really, what's it feel? It's awkward. I feel embarrassed. I feel, own the emotion. That's yours. That's bollocks. That's BS. That can go straight away. I'm not entertaining it. I know it's not mine. That's a pattern from somebody else. That's an association of a conversation that as a connection's become an attachment. So someone you connected with is suddenly it's become an attachment. It's more in your head than it is connected to your heart. Somebody is now not lifting you, they're offloading, they're calling you up, and there's a lot of offloading going on, and recognizing that that's not mine. And this is where people get to detach and connect. Stay in your heart, go to a new environment. So it's all about, like I share in the book, chapter 1, your products are your environment. That's the reality. And from a young age, from the downloading we do from 0 to 7 really sets us up for life. So a lot of us have really not grasped.
You hit it, something that's a key element is 0 to 7. 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21. 3 phases of stepping into adulthood, the beginning of adulthood. So that 0 to 7 is that very crucial, molding period, setting
downloading,
yeah,
observing and absorbing.
Another question coming in, Carl, is during the process, can we heal abuse, anxiety, and grief? Does the inner child play a role in this?
Of course. When it comes to trauma, deeply disturbing experiences, is that, what I learned from EFT as well, with the blocked emotion attached to certain issues that you need to speak through, and then tap where this emotion is blocked. Absolutely. It's really, I always say, it's like going in the morning and looking out your kitchen window into the garden, and you're washing the pot, you're having a drink, and you look at this big pallet of blocks, and you look at it and you go, oh, it's too much. It's too much. Instead of going, right, okay, today, I'm going to take one block off. It might be grief. I'm going to process through it. I'm actually going to get in a space. I'm going to get present. I'm going to move through it. I want to feel it. I want to feel it to heal it. And what the heart can't delete, the mind will repeat. And the process of going, okay, I got a lot of shit going on. You got a lot of growing. Because the average person is still, they say, 11 to 14 years of age, not grown up, because of certain patterns and certain lack of growth and leadership and understanding and lack of purpose. So when it comes down to emotion, it's like writing down. So if you journal, you go, okay, I'm going to write down. EFT you can get anywhere. And Gary, there's different ways. What am I feeling? What it is? So a journal. Okay, right. I'm feeling. What am I feeling? Getting in a space and feeling. Getting rid of the noise. So I'm feeling really angry today. Some dudes pissed me off. Okay, I got pissed off. What's he triggering? I got to go into the deeper layers. Okay, what is it? What is it? I can write it down. And that's like with the EFT. Even though I feel angry, it's this person's pissed me off. But the truth beyond that is there's more to it. I'm willing to explore. I need to go deeper, and I just need to let go, and I need to feel it through. And it's surprising what feedback you can get when you really look at that.
I totally agree with you on this. So, I do, when people ask me about the inner child and I take them on the journey to the inner child, and the healing process and the acknowledgement of that, the process of the inner child, like loving your, inner child, speaking to your inner child. So, you know what? I love you. I see you. We are one versus pushing my inner child down. My inner child, in great deal of what I teach is that it holds our highest potential, because in the innocence of our inner child, we're so open to the world around us. We want to explore, we want to create, we want to be joyous, we want to smile. And we go through things in our childhood, and many of us have gone through child abuse, and we push that inner child down, and we say, like, no, I don't want to go there. So we're pushing the physical memory of our childhood, but we're also burdening that inner child down there. Okay. So we're not coming into the power the inner child has. And then we just had another comment coming in. It says, from King Blue Eyes 335 says, I try to fight my demons by throwing myself into work. Is that normal? That's a good one.
That's a reaction. That's a reaction distraction. So that is, in a way of working more hours, distracts you from doing the work. So, it's easy. Again, it's television's a distraction. Reaction distraction means that you've got stuff to work on, and it's really, it's not a response to do something when there's some good work to do. So, if you have a certain reaction, and it can be a reaction is, I'm going to go drink a few pints today because I'm really pissed off at work, so I'm going to drink. I started as a school teacher, thought I could help the kids, and now I'm doing 40, 60 hours a week, and I'm totally managing behavior. I've seen the system and how it works, and it's, I just think it's just a really interesting process when you learn what reactions are, but you see the human side of them, and you go, okay. The truth.
Can we say that this is in the core of it? It's evasion. We're avoiding ourselves. We're evading. We're burying ourselves in television. We bury ourselves in the work. We bury ourselves in the drugs, alcohol, the addictions and everything, because we don't want to say, you know what? I am fucking worthy. And I am worthy. And then, you know what? I am an emotional being. I'm having a sensorial experience here. Hold on a second. Somebody just pissed me off, and I'm going like, okay, like I'm eating this. Why am I eating this? No, I got to find a way to work this out. I'll go work in my garden. I would go work in my garden. I'll create, whatever it is to get me into that moment where I can say, you know what? I'm going to go into a standstill. And that standstill with me is to say, okay, I see where I am with this. My mind's going... versus bringing myself back into this now moment and saying, I have a choice to make here. I can go in the shit end of this, or I can find a way to dig out of the shit end of this. And the way to dig out of the shit end of this is to see it for what it is. And rather than, blaming myself, not only do we blame others, but sometimes we're blaming ourselves.
That's ownership.
Yeah.
Total accountability, total ownership, and go, this is mine. I own it. It's like me. I say to my son, if I'm a plonker, a mild word for stupid or do something, I'm the number one plonker, and I'll take the title straight away. I don't have a problem with taking the title. I don't go, hey, whoa, I own it. It's all good. It's a human experience. I want to move on. Hopefully I'll learn, and it won't happen again, but it may. I can't promise anything, but I'm going to own it. It's mine. Ownership. And I think when you do that, as uncomfortable as certain things feel, they're just feelings. They're just feelings, and you can go through the process of feeling it through. And the greatest thing that we lose along the way, Gary, me, is a sense of humor. It's not taking ourselves, that's the ego. We take ourselves serious. We're easily offended.
That means when I make a mistake, I can laugh at myself instead of getting like angry with myself.
What a plonker.
There's moments, I'll be doing something And I'm
Yeah, yeah,
and like the other day, I was working on a creation of a shamanic piece, right? And I'm working with some very, very, very heavy glues. And all of a sudden, my two fingers, I glued them together. I glued them together. I'm going like, what up? You know what? Like how?
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
talking,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm talking to myself in a way that's like,
yeah,
you know what?
yeah,
I'm not going to talk to a stranger like this because I'm
yeah,
going to piss
yeah,
them off. But I can
yeah,
assume
yeah.
this that I did something so idiotic, okay, that
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't thinking or wasn't aware,
Yeah, yeah,
and all of
yeah,
a
yeah.
sudden, okay, now I got to get those fingers apart, and I'm just laughing at myself, and I'm pissed off. You know, it's like okay, I'm just pulling this apart. I'm going, oh, okay, and I
Yeah,
did
that's
it
a
without,
good thing.
I did it without ripping my skin. But holy shit, if I had done it in that
Yeah,
rash
yeah,
moment, I would have
yeah, yeah,
slapped it apart, and I probably would have taken a chunk of skin off on one finger, and then there, I have a wound. So there's a
yeah,
wound.
yeah,
I've created
yeah,
my
yeah,
own wound. I've wounded
yeah,
myself
yeah,
because I wasn't,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I wasn't taking in full awareness, but I was in that
It's
that frustration.
self-enhanced.
Yeah, self-enhanced, self-sabotage,
Yeah, yeah,
self-destruction. Okay, and that brings up a topic, and maybe it's a little side topic, and we're, we both know we're both men, so we have no problems there, right? So we have no problems with the pronouns and everything else that's out there. But
yeah, yeah.
in this world right now, as it stands, and we look at, you know, and we have to use certain keywords rather than the full word. So the opting out, and when we look at the opting out that many a human does at times, and we look at the percentage that affects men in this world versus the percentage that affects women in this world, and it's an international statistic that 80% right now of men are opting out. How do you see this? How do you see
Well,
this what's going on with this?
Gary, it's the biology, it's human biology. If you look at the soy boy generation, but you look at man not being able to be man because suddenly the woman comes into the work zone, it's all been convoluted. The masculine and the feminine has been, men have been been feminized and women have been masculized. So you've got now men who are not connected to their hearts in the feminine power, the soft power of emotion, emotional maturity, who are just reactive, and the masculine of I've got to knock the wall down, I've got to go through. And after a while, the freeze, the flight, the fight, man loses his way. And a lot of men can't be doing the fawn, which is people pleasing. And if they do, it's a sinking ship. Freeze, flight, fight, fawn. If you're bright enough to know your heart, the masculine and the feminine, and you know your heart is where your power is, the feminine, the divine feminine, you know, of just being really in tune with your power, and knowing your power is energy in motion. It's emotion. And you know, at the end of the day, you got work to do. You know, at the end of the day, that you've got to go create, co-create. But yet, over a period of time, you've been flattened by the matrix, the system. You're sleeping in a basement. You've got no hope. You feel helpless. You go drinking. You can only go down that road before you hit this big wall. And that's why we have suicide rates. And as you know, with me, I travel Canada sharing my journey of breaking down, breaking through mental health and addictions. And traveling across Canada is just so fascinating to see how many men are stepping up now to take ownership and go, I want to do the healing. Because you know what we share is you got to get back to the heart. You got to be able to confront. But what tools have you got to do that? A lot of people don't have the tools. So we're setting up online programs, Empower to Recover, Empower, number 2, recover.com. We've been traveling Canada for the last 2 years. That's a calling I've had with a Mr. J. Barnard, who was a celebrity chef who's gone through, he's 17 years now in recovery. And I've been in recovery a lot of years, but I really see how the influence of language, the influence of food, the influence of the economy, the system, the technology, is how man has lost his way. Man has lost his way.
Can we also attribute this in many ways? Because I see this, I see where, many a man that has been stripped away from emotional availability, emotional
Yeah.
intimacy, emotional
Yeah.
presence, because we've been told as the boy growing up, it's like men don't, boys don't cry, men don't cry. We're not to be, we're not to be soft, we're not to be tender, we're to be stoic and big and to be the warriors and go off to war
Masculine,
and all of that. Here I am, I'm the big boy. It's like versus, when we get into those relationships and we're in a relationship with a woman, the woman is craving emotional engagement. She's not craving just physical engagement.
No.
She desires that emotional engagement, that emotional moment.
But we're not taught that, Gary.
We're not taught
We're
that.
taught to go drink alcohol. Go get further education, get stuck in the classroom with your man, go out, sow your seeds, go and enjoy yourself. So straight away you're taught the dysfunctional road of not dropping into a space unless you have the model of response in your home environment with your parents loving and caring and going through troubles and building character and strength, and you seeing that. If you don't see that, you have no roadmap. And what's happened to the family? The family's been broken by design over many years, by the system, by the mum that would stay home and nurture the child, and the school was had a certain way of educating our kids without all the emotional confusion there is today. Because that's what it is. It's emotional confusion. I don't know.
It's emotional mindfuckery.
Vulnerability.
It's emotional mindfuckery, because the thing is that we're not taught this. We're not taught emotional engagement. That there's nowhere in our schooling that we're taught
Intelligence.
Yeah, and intelligence, and the ability to we're not taught love in school. What are we taught? We're taught consumerism. We're taught to be number one. We're taught to be the alpha. We're taught to be better than somebody else, get the higher marks, be the best of the choice, be the best of the class. And we step out into the world with this ego that's blind. And now we don't care about anything around us. We just like, what? I want what they want, and I'm going to get twice as much. Okay? We just got a comment come in as well. It says, somebody's asking, how can I support my mom when she don't want to be better when it hurts me?
Say that again.
Okay, so from what I can understand from this question is it's like, somebody's asking as the daughter, how can I support my mom when she doesn't want to be better and what she's doing is hurting me?
Well, so you're making the choice to be hurt for a start. Which is understandable, but you have to love people with compassion, and family and friends of many years. The world's changed over the last 4 years. There's been a polarization of people being on different frequencies. You got the heads versus the hearts. You got this, this whole programming, and I look at the fact that I know people that are casualties of this spiritual war for the hearts and minds. So I see people I know that are suffering and struggling, and all I can do is give them love. I can only plant seeds, and I can't be resistant towards them if they're not open to receiving. I just have to keep my door open and give when I can, and stay true to who I am with that love. It's a bit like.
I agree with you on that. I've been asked this question many, many times as well. It's like, if a stranger teaches or treats me with disrespect, I don't accept it. So I have a boundary. There's my boundary. That stranger. I'm not wishing them harm. I'm just wishing. What? I'm not going to engage with you. That's it. You know what? You don't respect me. You have your story. I have my story, and my path doesn't get in your path, and your path doesn't get in my path. But that same boundary applies to, my family. Applies to whether it's my son, whether it's my mother, my father, my brother, my sister. It's the same boundary. Okay, and I cannot have a bunch of different sets of boundaries, because if I have a bunch of different sets of boundaries, I get convoluted in all of this, and it's like I'm allowing this one to hurt me because, oh, you're my mother, or you're my brother, or you're my sister, or you're my son, or whatever. I'm allowing you to disrespect me, but I won't do that with a stranger. So my boundary is quite simple. That doesn't mean I close my door. My door is open, but I'm not going to chase you. I'm not there to fix you. I'm not there to heal you. I'm not there to hate you. I don't hate you. I'm just saying, you know what? I'm not going to deal with your story. Your story is yours. I wish you all the best. And
what Gary, is it's called entanglement. When you grow up with family and you go through the process of, moving into adulthood and family, a lot of families break. And the reality is the only way you will grow from that entanglement is breaking from the pack to know and become who you truly are. And you can't allow people to, attack you or be resistant. You make a choice to feel a certain way, and if you can see with compassion where somebody's at, that's like looking at a lot of my family have watched television for years. Well, it's common sense that they're brainwashed. Why should I try and fight that? Why would I even try? You're a casualty of the television, the CIA. You're not aware of this, but I've done the research. I have my perspective. I'm not telling you what to do. This is my view and opinion. You have your view and opinion. You come from that place. It's all good. It's all good. So when I have a depth of awareness, or I go and I do it's okay. I look at family who drank the Kool-Aid for years. It's okay. I'm not here to tell you or try and force the truth down your neck. I'm here to plant seeds. I'm here to stay open, non-resistant. I love you. I'm here to change the subject if need be. Bring humor in. Have a laugh. Have a joke. I love you. I gotta go. I don't have to get into them conversations. I don't have to get all eaten by somebody not doing what I'm expecting them to do. I just have to let be, let go, so you can let in. Because if you can't let be and you can't let go, you can't let in the good stuff. You're just going to carry stuff, and you're going to think, it's a bit like interesting, the conversation. Without forgiveness, it's like taking a poison and expecting someone else to suffer. It's so true.
well, it is, and the greatest forgiveness of all is not me in forgiving another. It's forgiving myself for my engagement. Because I at times we just, there is, for me it's simple. At times I cannot forgive the action. I cannot. I'm powerless. I'm powerless to forgive that. I don't wish them harm. I'm not in resentment. I'm not in anger. I'm just in, you know what? This doesn't belong to me. And so, but I can forgive myself, because the power of my self-forgiveness comes back to me and says, you know what? I love myself enough to say that shit doesn't belong to me. Okay? And I'm not the one that's going to forgive it. That's up to Creator. Creator will deal with that. Karma will deal with that. That doesn't belong to me. Okay? So I don't wish you the harm. Okay? I do have a fine border. And that fine border is when it comes to harm towards a child.
Which is the core of my way. It's children.
We can open up Pandora's box in this, and you and I both know what's happening, going on with the children in the world. Behind the scenes, and the politicians hiding it from us, and the religious leaders hiding it from us, and the pornographic industry that's, a big part of it, and all of this. And, when I get talking in this is a whole podcast on its own. But the point is that child is innocent. That child is innocent. That's an innocent life. Okay. And even in that adolescent, even in that human, whether it is an adult or whether as the adult, and you're being used for something that is of a dark side of, the other side of things. I don't have the power to forgive this, but I do have the power to speak about it. I do have the power to speak about it and bring it out in clarity and say, you know what? There's something wrong with this picture. There
Well,
is something wrong.
there's no way back, Gary. It's like you look at good people trapped in certain systems of control. You look at emotionally blackmailed, financially controlled. You look at blind peddlers. You look at, people who are on the dark side and the evil. There's a real reality. But this is where, for me, the work I do and the real depth of what I do is these generations coming through, is that in this great shift that we're in, we got to teach. It's inspired learning. It's not education. We've got to teach kids to stay in their heart. So how do we, you know? And what I was going to say there, as you was talking, is that, and I've done a lot of it, and I do a video about the man I was is not the man I am today, and it's breaking the cycle and knowing, looking, and really seeing the old of everything that you've been involved in, which I share in my book. And you really start to see how you've broke through, the cycle. And that's not easy, but then you see what's going on in the world. And for me, my calling is really to help people sharing my story. But the core of my work is challenged youth. And challenged youth is really young people that just need to build character and understand the true power they've got inside of them. Don't become a victim. Build character. Got to dig. Don't become a lost soul. Find your soul power. Build and work, and there's going to be more of this. As you look at healing the world and building a new earth is possible because there is a conscious awakening of more and more people. And this technology we're having now when we're conversating is that a lot of content providers, a lot of amazing people I've connected with doing podcasts, and I enjoy just sharing perspective. I just know that everything we're in now, it's like being on a bloody movie set, but everything we're in now is part of the great shift. We're in an age of truth and transparency. So there's work to do, but there's ways to heal. And the ways to heal and really look at the energy, the frequency, and the vibration raising is being learning to surf on a new board. Getting out of your head, out of fear. Fear is a construct. Fear is a total construct. There's the view of the devil. All these images and visuals and what we've been taught. Love and connection and source is real. And once you feel it, you want more of it. But you got to do the work. You got to do the work. And for me, purposefully is you give, you receive. So I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of young people and work with athletes and just share the message and the journey, reaction, response, and just the power we have is really coming from the heart and just being in the moment and just learning when there's work to do. If you ain't in the flow, you're in the way. And if you're in the way, you got to do some work. Get back in the flow. Go with the flow. And if something comes in, go through it. Don't ignore it. If it's BS, kick it out. If it's something working, if it's something you want to laugh at, if it's something you need to own it. Get back in the flow. Stay in your heart and understand that's the best place you can be because you're free. But if you're gonna kind of go, I'm gonna look back. The past equals preoccupied about spent time. It's gone. If there's emotion inside here, there's old files on your internal hard drive that you need to work through. Pick a time. Go through it, find a tool, go see a healer. Don't move your body, circulate, recycle your energy, clear and get a feedback on it. That's why I do jiu-jitsu 11 years. Takes you deep into the muscle memory, and it's great therapy. Well, I say great therapy because that's a funny word. The therapist, isn't it? That's a funny word. But it's the healing aspect. Don't laugh, Gary. I know you got that. You know that.
I'm smiling at that because I think therapy therapists and just the programmation behind that, and I look at this as is it, if I throw the label out of that, I'm looking at this as returning back to the ebb and flow. getting myself back in the flow, getting myself back into being myself, getting myself, do whatever it takes. You know, that famous phrase by Nike is just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Okay? Get out there, expand,
But
explore.
Gary, we're living in a time where we look at counselling, we look at psychology. Lived experienced speakers, 117 in over 16 months have shown up. Nearly 10, 12 to speak and share about lived experienced speakers, recovery mentors. That's where it's at. Real people creating real change. That's what we've been doing for 2 years. So I've been a busy lad.
You like, for an example, you like me, is I look at somebody who's been taught to be a psychologist or a therapist, and I'm not going to, be demeaning towards this.
No.
20 in their 20s, they have very minimal life experience. I look at me, almost 64 cycles around the earth. I've got experience. I've got life experience. I've been down into the deepest, darkest circles. I've worked with, with drug counts. I've done so much in my life that's given me a life experience, survival skills, survival tools. And now when I talk to somebody who is half my age, or even somebody who is older than me, it's like I've done a great deal of my life to heal and to become the man that I am. I'm proud of the man I am. I'm very, very proud of the man I am. And that's not my ego. No, I know who I am.
No.
I know
you love who
damn rights I do. You don't like me? I don't care. Okay? I like myself. And when I don't like myself, I deal with it. Okay? I don't need somebody to tell me. I know when I need to turn around and say, okay, you know what? I'm not as loving towards myself as I should be. Okay? But you've worked with so many things. You're showing the children a way to, open their minds, open their hearts. Okay? Not just my mind, and we're on our, the way
it's
to
the
program.
ability to respond, Gary. It's the ability to respond. It's heart, mind, intelligence. And what I've taught for years is for kids to understand reaction from responses, what the different ways, passing on, bullying, aggression. All of these are just reactions. They call it toxic masculinity. It's reactive behavior that's
I'm so
it's
tired.
It's promoted in the environment.
This phrase, toxic masculine, is so
bollocks.
It's bullshit. It's
exactly.
Just, it has nothing to do
Lefty linguistics.
Yeah. And this is where, like, the battle out there, the gender wars, it's like, toxic man, then the woman's going to take over the world. And you know what? No, it doesn't work that way. Together we will come together as one people. Together we rise up. Together we recognize the divinity, the sacredness of being, being a being, having a human experience, regardless of our gender. Okay? And if we come together in that understanding through the heart frequency versus just the ego, okay? Like, for me, my ego doesn't exist. I know it's there. I'm very aware of it because on the outside world, there's 80% ego running rampant.
But I did a video about the ego, Gary. It's all right on the passenger seat, but when it's time to get the steering wheel, you need to drop it off at the station. It's the ego can be characteristically competitive. We compete and we compare, but it's this taking ourselves really serious where we don't lighten up with, failure. It's like losing. You never lose. It's all of these words and language that teaches I'm a lose. No, you're a learner. What you got to learn? What are you going to gain? Success comes from how you deal with failing. They're just words. Words and people get all caught up in the framework of words because the linguistics have been designed by your left brain constructs.
Yeah. It's like be mindful. Look at the mindfulness industry, and it's like, be mindful. I'm a mindfulness coach. I'm a mindful this. I'm a mind. It's it's not about the mind. It's about be aware, be in the heartful, be in the awareness of the now space. And I'm in my heart space. I'm not trying to fill my mind with be mindful. The word mindful right away is telling you mindful. Fill my mind. Here, throw some more in me.
Mental health, Gary, mental health is, and I've spoke about this for a lot of years, and mental health, you don't process in your head. It's heart health that develops mental strength. And it's all about mindset. So when you think about what I would taught to think, mental health some, don't get me wrong, some people have mental issues and stuff that get taken down certain roads, and you can understand that from trauma or just genetic or whatever it is. But as a whole, with what's going on, they've sent us mental, they left it, and they've sent us mental, and now, you know, you look at the whole process of us struggling with this sensory overload from technology. Everything's moving faster. Information overload, sensory overload. How have we not got mental issues if we're taught to overthink and to try and process in here in a reactive mind loop? How do you get back to the heart? You've got to get out of here, back into here, and then understand that you're not in the moment when you're overloaded with excessive information. And we are. But I can be present and move through information and not, I always say, observe, don't consume. Be the observer, don't consume. So people go, oh, this fear porn, I go, just observe it, don't consume it.
So, how do people get a hold of you? You know, what's the best way to get a hold of you? You know, it's like do you have a website?
Website, energy-wise. Shall I put it in the chat? Where's the chat? Can I get on the chat here? Can I get on the chat here? Where's the chat? In here. So I can put this in here, yeah? So people can email me at Carl at energywise.ca. People can go to my website, energywise.ca. And in there, Gary, is my book. So you'll see my work, my system. I'm just separating box-wise, which I've done for 20 years. I'm going to put that online. That's fun, moving energy and learning to the gears, you know, your body is your vehicle, and learning to kind of go with the flow, movement and flow, your base, your core, your flow. So I've been developing that for 28 years. So my books are on there to check out. You can get my Activating Flow. If you're here in Canada, you can get it from off my website. Or if you're across the world, you can go on Amazon. And Amazon is Amazon. Activating Flow.
Yeah, what I'll do as well is I'll get all your links for your website, your book and everything else. I'll get that up on my website. So when people go to my link, they'll be able to access your information as well. We've got another question that's coming in from Sharon Connolly. And Sharon's asking how to advise to clear family correlations. Okay, those family, relationships, or those family hook and chains, or the boundaries, or the, sometimes we look at there's a toxic family member. How do we clear these? How do we get rid of that, that connectivity without being, I guess, self-harm and harm to another, as an example?
Well, Gary, like I said, entanglement. When you become mature enough to step into your power and stay in your power, you won't give your power away, and you'll be able to communicate more consciously. You'll be able to communicate more consciously, and like you say, with boundaries and understanding how people tick around you, is the ability to detach. Detach and accept. The acceptance of a family member that could be a total alcoholic, an acceptance of a family member that could be, for me, I've seen it all: prostitution, heroin addict. You accept all of these circumstances, and in accepting people, it's really staying in your power and understanding where to give love, how to give love, how to plant seeds, and not to get resistant towards family, towards clutter. So, breaking from the pack or detaching from the pack is accepting family members for who they are and loving them where they're at. And keep your own life moving. Don't get stuck in other people's shit. Excuse my French. You just got to become, detached but connected. Detached from the BS and the stuff that's not yours, and connected to the love that's around you, or the podcast you're listening to, the people who inspire you through, speaking into your life. You just get more of that, and you understand as you grow up, people are who they are, and if they're willing to change, all I can say is, and I did this in a video, attachments and connections. It some starts as a connection, and before you know it, you're having to detach. But hey, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 15 years later, you might meet that same person. They've changed, and you reconnect because they've done the work. They've done their work. They've worked it out. People used to detach me because I was an intense, certain individual. I was a kind of go-getter, but I had a certain level, and people were like, well, she's a bit too bad to harness that energy over time. But I understood. I understood when I look back and I reflect. And I think one of the biggest things you can do to really help clear your life is stop drinking alcohol.
Oh,
It damages the spirit
alcohol,
unless
anything, Carl, like anything that we're using as evasion, no matter what it is, whether it's alcohol, whether it's a physical addiction that we're ingesting, or a physical addiction that we're embarking upon. It can be gambling is another way. I mean, there's so many different ways that we run away from ourselves.
Recognize your reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Control them, detach them.
Carl, I met you a couple of years ago, and I'm glad I did. We would have times, when I first met you in the tea shop at Clarity, there was a connection that was made right there. And and then when I saw you recently, over at the other coffee shop, and that hot and that chocolate, that was like, okay, that's a place to go to. Exactly. I got to get you on this podcast, and I'm happy I did, Carl. I'm really, it's a pleasure to know you as as a brother, as a friend, as a I can say yes, co-creator, co-worker, because you're doing it in your way, I'm doing it my way, but we're still working towards that global, that upper consciousness, that world collective.
The light work is in the field.
You got
Shining,
it.
shining
We're out there pounding the pavement one way or another. Okay, Carl, you got any last words you'd like to say to the people out there?
I just think, every day you get up, just get up, and just find a way to live through the day and see the attitude of gratitude, and just know there's always someone worse off. What can I get from today? What work do I need to do? I mean, if I'm in a job that's really, find a way. It's like me being in Canada with all the ice and the snow. I love it, and I really do, because I've adjusted. It doesn't affect my mood, Dal. I go out in it and I embrace it. And that's life. Embrace life.
It don't affect my mood, but it's still cold.
Yeah, but I love it.
Yeah, I've been in Canada all my life, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's like my youth, I loved it, and I think as I'm maturing, it's going like, no, I mean, I like the snow, I like to see it, I like everything about it, but when it's minus 33 out there, I'm going like, I don't like this. I'm being honest with you. I don't like this. Yeah.
But you got to feel the cold to appreciate the warmth. That's in my book. And you can't allow life to affect your mood down.
You definitely got a point, brother. One of the things too is that, Carl, I mean, I'll be talking to you more about, as we're here with ESP agency, and the ESP agency is Elevate Souls Production. They're a worldwide production agency. They are very helpful. They stand behind us. They're the ones that backed me as a content creator beginning on TikTok. But they're not just on TikTok. We're streaming here on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we're on all of their platforms at the same time too. And recently I've moved into not just being a content creator underneath their wing, and they're promoting to me, is now I'm stepping into becoming that of an agent itself and bringing quality content creators out there. And I'm going to be talking to you about that, because you know what, we can get you out there further, we can get it out there broader. And there's a way that it helps us at the end day to have a better way of life as well. And so, I'll definitely be sitting down for you with a coffee sometime. Maybe we'll meet over at that coffee shop where the chocolate is, and have a little bit of a treat together, and we'll talk more about this and how we can get you out there further. Okay? Because you've got a message. Your book.
That's the plan, Gary. I'm kind of ready now. I'm finishing this second book, and I'm now ready because I've been on such a deep dive. I've not allowed excessive emailing, except to take me out the flow of what I'm in. But my work now is done. It feels like my second book. That's it. I can now promote my first book, talking about my first book tonight. And I can enjoy really getting off my chest, connecting the dots, seeing through the matrix, and sharing perspective with people to bring people back to the heart with my second book. So I'm going to be sending you the link to that second book as well, and how to access it at the back of my website, because that's in process. That's going to be published soon, and I'm excited about that because I've got that right out over in the States as well. I'm getting really good feedback because that's a calling. And I just appreciate being able to have these conversations, but to utilize the airwaves and help people. One pen, two people, so love.
Technology is, not going anywhere. It's going to get further and further, and it's got a broader outreach in today's world. And now let's find a way to use it as a tool and bring it out there.
I call
that message.
I call it the cosmic information communication superhighway. That's what we're in. And we're interconnected.
That's a wide one.
That's a wild one, but we're interconnected to the universe, electromagnetic, through this technology now, because we can help each other. We've got instant access at the touch of a finger, and that's a beautiful thing. Inspiratology. That's what I write about. And that's that.
I began in 1988, just to finish off with this. I began in 1988, and before I even got into computer engineering and where it took me over the years, I was doing something else. I said, and I saw the technology that was sort of, coming forward, and said, I'm never going to get into this. I'm not going to get into this shit, because you know what? It's not going to do anything for me. And here I am. I spent, a good majority of my life in technology from 1988 up until 9/11. And I've seen it expand. I've seen it grow. I've seen what it's become today. I see it as a tool. Unfortunately, in today's generation, they haven't seen what I've seen. They haven't seen what you've seen. I mean, we grew up, we were out in the streets, we were out in the bush, we were out digging holes, we were out getting muddy, we were climbing trees, falling, breaking bones, swimming in the rivers. And today, most are swimming on the internet. So I'm, part of bringing this forward, and this is to see that, the super information highway. Yes, there's lots of information there, but we have to go with discernment with it and be careful what we're feeding ourselves, because it's the same thing as what am I feeding myself with that television? We talked about that, Rockefellers, we can go into that, the changing of the frequency, from the 432, the recording industry, to the 440.
That's what I say. So Gary, that's why I call it negatology and inspiratology. It's knowing the truth and what moves you deeply and how to access it.
Final last word. What do you got to say?
Love.
Good.
Love
I'm with Carl on that.
Love the people. Spread the love.
So for everybody that's been here tonight, thank you very much. Yeah, we had some technical glitches. We're trying to, it happens. But, on the bright side of things, consistency is everything. So if you stayed with us here tonight with me and my brother Carl, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being part of a collective uprising and allowing us to bring truth out forward and helping you go forward and understand who you are, to remember who you are, and step into the power of that heart. And like Carl says, it's about love, and love is not a weakness, it's a superpower. And it's time for us to engage with love and engage with love throughout this world and bring people together, one people, regardless of age, gender, color, creed, language, or walk of life. We are one people walking on a living mother planet. And I thank you once again for being here with myself. My name's Gary. Thank you for being part with us, and my brother here, Carl. We wish you all a very beautiful evening, and just keep going. You know what? Believe to see. Just like Nike said, just do it. Let's do this. And good night to everybody out. Let's go, everybody out there. Thank you once again, and good night. À bientôt, and namaste.
God bless.
In the heart of the mountains, where flying shadows play, legends whisper softly in the light of day. Scales shine like diamonds, wings that touch the sky, guardians of the planet Earth, protecting all that cry. When the storms rage above and the darkened shadows creep, they shield the outer danger from attacking when we sleep. Through their breath of fire, we will find our way back home. They are always there to call on, no matter where we roam. Hear the thunder of dragons flying high above the earth, protectors of the ancient realms, hidden since our birth. Feel energy that rises, feel the fire in your heart, creeping up your body, awakening the start. In the depths of the forests, where spirits dance and sing, dragons listen carefully for souls that are calling. Then breathing life of fire, a flicker of the tail, their hearts all beat in unison, that is timeless in this veil. When the storms rage above and the darkened shadows creep, they shield the outer danger from attacking when we sleep. Through their breath of fire, we will find our way back home. They are always there to call on, no matter where we roam. Hear the thunder of dragons flying high above the earth, protectors of the ancient realms, hidden since our birth. Feel energy that rises, feel the fire in your heart, creeping up your body, awakening the start. Let the fire burn brightly, our legends now unfold. Reach to the dragon force with souls that are so bold.